Okay guys, I have a lot of stuff to cover in this review and I really want this to be less than 10 minutes long, so we're going to dive right into it. Here is my review of Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2 for the Nintendo Switch. In terms of storyline, the games in this collection continue to showcase the world of the Mega Man X series, where Reploids, or robots, try to live in peace alongside humans, though now not so mysteriously turning into violent mavericks, causing Mega Man X, Zero, and the other Maverick Hunters to track them down and put an end to their violence. Each game in this collection has an interesting story in and of itself, but it's worth noting that this is also where the continuity confusion began with the X series. Series creator Inafune intended X5 to be the end of the X series and bridge into the Zero series, which he sets up perfectly in the end of Mega Man X5. However, Capcom took it upon themselves to continue the X series anyways, without him being involved in the story elements. This decision, of course, led to a lot of plot holes, inconsistencies, and overall confusion about the story and how the X series bridges to the Zero series, mostly in terms of Zero himself from X6 and onward. Tie this with the fact that X6 had a very poorly done translation to begin with, and you've got some games with some very confusing storylines when you start thinking about the bigger picture. In terms of gameplay, this is a collection of 4 action platformers, both with 2D and 3D elements thrown into the mix. Very similar to the original X collection, just different in what X5 through 8 added compared to what X1 through 4 added. So in Collection 2, you get 4 games. Mega Man X5 and Mega Man X6 from the PlayStation, along with Mega Man X7 and X8 for the PlayStation 2. As far as extra content is concerned, you've got most of the same stuff you got in Collection 1. The museum that's chock full of trailers and product information, the X Challenge mode for you to challenge multiple bosses at once, and the in-game achievements and trophies that pop up and unlock on the Switch just like they do on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now let's get to the games themselves. The main progression hasn't really changed much. You go through 8 stages, platform around and fight enemies, while you're doing some light exploration trying to find power-ups to help you with the final boss. But just as X1, 2, 3, and 4 added new elements to the formula, these games did the same. X5 added optional Reploids to rescue in each stage to gain special customization parts, as well as a special grappling system to help platforming. X6 added alternate routes and bosses for each of the stages. X7 added fully 3D gameplay segments along with a new playable character. And finally, X8 added an in-game currency in a shop that was used for upgrades along with extra playable characters. But that's not to say that change is always for the better. There are some good gameplay additions and changes to these games, but there are a lot of problematic gameplay changes added to these games. While some of these are difficulty based, like the amount of spikes in some of the levels that Rookie Hunter mode fixes, it doesn't fix all of them. So let's go into detail of some of these problematic things. X5's main problem is an unavoidable tutorial that constantly interrupts you during stages again and again and again, sometimes mere seconds after the last time they interrupted, which really hurts the feel and pace of the game. X6's main problem was the inclusion of bosses that can only be hurt by using very specific attacks that you're not told about, despite X6 also having an overbearing tutorial that constantly shows itself to you. Then we get to X7. X7's main problem is that it feels extremely slow, extremely clunky, and had very strange PS1-esque camera controls that heighten the difficulty far higher than it should have. And that is one difficulty problem that Rookie Hunter mode cannot fix. And finally we get to Mega Man X8, which actually fixed almost everything that X7 lacked. The pacing is a lot better, the combat's a lot more fluid and fun, the controls were simplified. The only thing holding it back was that due to the shop system, there was little to no exploration at all in any of the stages. Most of the time you'll only be replaying stages to be able to grind for currency rather than to actually explore and find hidden upgrades and improvements. This plethora of problems doesn't make the games not fun. X8 is a very good Mega Man game, In fact, it's one of my favorites of the series now. And X5 is very good outside of the constant tutorials. But X6 and X7 are likely games that'll only be played and completed by diehard fans and trophy hunters. And that brings us to time, which is a little less than the previous collections, since X7 and X8 have a much smaller amount of exploration than the rest of the games. Each of these games should take you around 3 to 4 hours to complete, which still gives you about 12 to 16 hours of game time. That's a good amount for the price. Just note that the farther you get in the X series, the less exploration you'll be doing and the less time you'll be spending. Now let's get into presentation. X5 and X6 look really good in this collection because it's got the same filter that was in Collection 1 that makes X4 look so good. X7 and X8 don't have a filter, but their visuals have been polished for this release. As such, the cell shading used in X7 looks very good without any jagged edges. And while there are a couple jagged edges here and there in X8, overall it also looks quite good. The problem with presentation is more the anime cutscenes and, once again, the voice acting. X8's anime scenes are very grainy and very degraded, making them a little bit difficult to look at as they come up on screen and are so much lower quality than everything else. Now, as far as the voice acting is concerned, this is all on Mega Man X7. Not learning from their mistakes in X4, they decided to bring in an English dub for X7, which was very, very poorly done. Granted, they did fix this with a superb English dub in X8, but that still doesn't change the fact that X7's was very bad.
Why must Reploids continue this accursed cycle of aggression?
Now let's get into battery life, which is very strange. If you recall, all 4 games in Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 used the same amount of battery life. X1, X2, X3, and X4. Things are a little different here. X5, X6, and X7 use the same amount of battery life, but X8 uses significantly more power than any of the others, which is a little strange considering X7 and X8 are both 3D model games. But let's just take a look at the stats. First, here are my battery times for Mega Man's X5 through X7. Maximum brightness with Wi-Fi on, 3 hours and 30 minutes. Maximum brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 3 hours and 36 minutes. Lower brightness with the Wi-Fi on, 4 hours and 16 minutes. Lower brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 4 hours and 23 minutes. That's a pretty good amount. Now let's take a look at the battery times for Mega Man X8. Maximum brightness with the Wi-Fi on, 2 hours and 24 minutes. Maximum brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 2 hours and 51 minutes. Lower brightness with the Wi-Fi on, 3 hours and 30 minutes. Lower brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 3 hours and 52 minutes. It's a bit weird and I don't know why. Either way, you're going to get a good amount of battery time out of this collection, but you're going to get a lot more with the earlier titles. Now, in conclusion, Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2 successfully optimizes the second half of the X series for handheld fans. While the improvements made here definitely help the experience, and X5 and X8 are very good games, the sheer number of problems with these games, from plot holes and voice acting to clunky gameplay and overbearing tutorials, really hurt the collection and keep me from recommending this to anyone outside of Mega Man fans. Reviews to go rates Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2 for the Nintendo Switch a 6 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, or head to the website at www.reviewstogo.com.